Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about Season 3 of One Punch Man. That's been quite a controversial subject, isn't it? Or, I guess not really controversial, everyone kind of has the same opinion on it, but except for me, I have a very different opinion on it. You don't know what my opinion is? I enjoyed watching Season 3 of One Punch Man. Now, I know, some of you guys are going to be saying, like, what? You think that animation's good? No. But I will explain my thoughts behind why I enjoyed it. So, let's talk about the animation. I feel like that's the biggest thing we should talk about. You know, that's the biggest thing with this season that everyone wants to talk about. Let's talk about the animation. Animation-wise, yes, it is below Season 2. I mean, I feel like the beginning of the series of Season 3, the first part was just below Season 2. And then the middle half, it went even lower in terms of animation quality. But then in the final half, like the final third, it got much better. Higher than the beginning of the season, but still below Season 2, I feel. Maybe even a little bit equal. And then the final fight with Saitama and Orochi, that was actually pretty good animated. I have to say, that was well animated. I enjoyed it, you know. Watching Saitama punch Orochi using his dragon little hand things, throwing Saitama around. That was fun. I enjoyed it. But still, the animation overall was bad. I will not say it's trash, though, because I know what garbage actually is. Garbage is Rap City Street Kids. Garbage is Food Fight. Garbage is Elf Bowling and all the other series. This is bad, not garbage. There is a difference. Garbage is way worse than this. This is bad. This is just not garbage, though. But, you know, still bad. And, yeah, besides that, you know, besides the final fight, yeah, that's kind of everything. But I still enjoyed the season. Now, why? Because it's still One Punch Man at the end of the day. I guess I should explain my thoughts. One Punch Man I think a lot of people make it, I don't know if you guys would agree with me, but I feel One Punch Man is one of the greatest stories out of the 2010s. Like, out of the new stories told in the 2010s, like new franchises, One Punch Man, I feel, is one of the best. Like, agree with me. Because, like, I mean, technically the web manga came out, the web comic came out in 2009. But, like, so technically it's a 2010, like a early 2000s, like a late 2000s series. But still, anyways, and then the manga, I feel that it is still one of the greatest series ever. It's one of the funniest I've ever seen out of that decade. And I'm not talking about just Japan. I'm talking about the whole wide world. Out of all the stuff I've seen, it is one of the best written, best stories. I even say some of the funniest thing ever. I mean, story-wise, it's about a guy who basically lost his humanity because he became so strong. But now he gains back his humanity through making friends and doing other things and stuff, and he becomes more of a person. As we see, you can even see it. Saitama is becoming more emotional and everything throughout the series and everything, and obviously the manga art is really impressive. And even season 1 was impressive. Yeah, let's not be honest. Those were huge things. And yeah, and so because of that, I'm still enjoying this. I mean, it's still, remember, yes, it is an adaptation, but it's still adapting from the same story. So a lot of the same funny jokes that everyone talks about are like still there. You know, Saitama doing that joke with Saitama, you know, skipping the running away from paying the food. That's still hilarious. You know, a lot of the fun story beats and awesome story points are still there. They're just not looking as good. So, and I feel animation can't take me out of how good the story is still. I mean, yes, I would have wished it to be better. Would I have not wished it to be better? Yes. Do I blame the people making this for the bad animation? Not entirely. I mean, it's just they're not really having fun making this. I mean, their studio is not known for fighting stuff. I mean, yes, they've done it, and people brought that up, but just because a studio does it does not mean they enjoy it, obviously. And it's clear to me that a big company like Bandai Namco came in and said, "Hey, we're gonna pay you to make this season of a show, blah blah blah." And obviously they're like, oh, "Okay, fine, we're gonna do One Punch Man." It's like, I don't think they hate the series. I just think, they're not that most fond of it, obviously. I don't think they directly hate it, but, sometimes you're just working on something you're not enjoying, so that happens. And it's okay that sometimes, I don't know what to say, but I'm not blaming them for their work, because obviously, they're being told to do this. So yeah, I still enjoyed season 3, because, it's still the same great story that everyone's known, everyone still loved. Yeah, I would have watched it better, but yeah, still same great story. And, I'm excited to see what happens next. If the animation quality is the same, I would be disappointed. But hey, it could always be worse. Like, this is always could be worse. It actually could be trash animation, like I was talking about. But yeah. So, let's say, okay, now, yeah, I think now for the future of One Punch Man, I am still really excited for. I hear they're going to do a Season 3 Part 2, which is what a lot of series are doing. Beastars is doing that. Doing like a big Part 2. Well, third season, actually. I don't know why that's the thing. But anyways, I don't know if that's directly confirmed or not. Or I haven't seen any direct confirmations. But, if that's true, then that's okay. I'm hoping for Part 2, if they have to be the same studio, maybe they can hire the studio so let me explain the story. So the guy who draws and does the main manga, the first adaptation of the web manga, he has like a small animation studio, not like the hugest one, at least I don't think so. And what if, maybe they can hire him, his studio, to work on Season 3 Part 2, Maybe that'll help a bit, I don't know. Anyways, yeah, and then, obviously, so yeah. And, Season 3 Part 2, I don't think it's going to have the Garo fight, because I feel, maybe it's not. I feel everyone wants the Garo, everyone's worried about the Garo fight, and I don't even know if we're going to reach the Garo fight soon. And we're only halfway through this arc we're in. I mean, by the end, roughly halfway through, there's still a lot to do, and I just don't know. I think Season 3 Part 2 might go ahead and might do the Garo fight, but I just think, that just seems, I don't know. If you ask me, I think the Garo fight would happen in like a Season 4, which technically Part 2 would basically be Season 4. Maybe, I guess, maybe even a Season 5. It's not I don't feel like it's happening in Part 2. Yeah, when they do a Season 4, I think it's gonna happen in Season 4. It's not, I just think the fight itself is just, it happens at the very end of this arc. And there's still so many fights, so many story points we have to go through. And yeah, oh my gosh, I forgot to bring up one thing about the story with the series. Them doing the cut parts of the story, like, because in the manga, sometimes chapters would just be retconned into a new chapter which changes the story, and they do that twice in this season with the Orochi fight. They shoot, and the Phoenix Man fight. And how do I feel about that? Let's ask that question. Okay, so with the Orochi fight, obviously that's a way better fight actually, because the fight, how it happened in the manga was just kind of, it was really boring. But the story was really good. But also, you could just shove that story afterwards, That's like something you could do. You could just have his head at the bottom, like, wait a minute, you could do all that story content, like, directly afterwards, so it's not that crazy. So I think that, let's say I think that the Orochi fight was a good decision to do that because the fight's now the actual good fight, the really good fight that a lot of people love, and if all the story context and all the cool story moments, which it is a really cool story, you could just kind of put that afterwards. I mean, you could just do a scene afterwards where he explains his reasons and all that. But yeah, still and then for Phoenix Man. Listen, the fight is still... It's kind of the same thing with Orochi where the fight's better, but the story context is just... I feel they kind of... I wish they kind of... The Phoenix Man fight is better on a, just a fight basis, but... the story is really... Like, the story... Saitama was going to be a part of that fight. In the main manga, he becomes a part of that fight. And, it's I'm trying not to spoil everything. But I will say this, Saitama was a part of that fight. And, it was a really... It had a lot of funny moments in the fight. I think the fight with Phoenix Man that we get in the manga, the cut fight that we get in the anime, I think... It's a good fight, and I enjoy it, but I kind of would have preferred the one that's already in there. Like, if I had, like, with Orochi, I would have preferred the cut stuff more than the newer stuff, because, that one just sucked. But with this one, it's like, yeah, the actual fight is actually better, but it's kind of just... The other one's way more fun, I feel, and it has much better story. So I feel like you could have done a bit of both. I don't know, a bit of both would have been pretty fun. Maybe like a bit of both. Like you took the cut stuff, but still had some of the fun elements and have Saitama in the fight still. I don't know. And it could have been a lot. That fight is just both. Both versions of that fight have their pros and stuff. So I feel if you just like the fighting, see it part of the series, which apparently a lot of people do not care about the story, then I guess you would have liked this fight more. But for me, I kind of would have preferred the one with, I don't know, it just feels off. But hey, it's done and over with. Nothing too crazy. Also, one thing about Season 3 is we finally get to see a character who may be more powerful than Saitama. Not gonna spoil everything, but, just know we see probably the biggest threat in the entire One Punch Man series for a brief moment. For a little bit, actually. And, once that finally happens in the story, it hasn't happened in the story yet, but it's definitely building up to it, I'm gonna enjoy that. But that's not gonna happen for a while. If you ask me, if we take everything in the manga and try to turn that into seasons, let's say they do Season 3, Part 3, Part 2, and there will be a Season 4 with Garo fight. I think after Season 4 with the Garo fight, I think they might have a Season 5 and maybe a Season 6 after that. In terms of just what's in the manga right now. And what's in the manga is it's not even as much as the webcomic. The webcomic's much farther away. Gosh, there's so much to talk about. But you know what? Yeah. So that's my thoughts on the series. So if you want to ask what are my opinions, my reviews, I give Season 1 10 out of 10. I'll give it that. It's the best thing ever. Season 2, 8.5, no, 9, or 8.5. No, actually 9. 9 out of 10. And then Season 3, 7 out of 10. I'll give you that, okay? Now, animation-wise, Season 3 would be much lower, but, I'm going to review the entire thing. So, yeah, Season 3, maybe even 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10, Season 3. But still, hey. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for everything. And now that it is the new year, I have a new goal. Last year, we didn't get to 200 subs. That was my goal last year. But this year, my goal is, You know, maybe we could get to 250 because we're really close to 200. So maybe a 250. Is that good? How about that, guys? All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful, magical day and all that stuff. And yeah, have a nice day, a wonderful weekend, and all that stuff. Good day.